Councilman, you had made the comment that since the folks voted down overwhelmingly the light rail fiasco, that it was a decided issue for now. Does that mean as mayor you're going to put light rail back into the budget? One more answer is not budget.
I can only answer from my perspective. I've been against light rail from the get-go. A couple of years ago, when we were floating the idea of a referendum, and also I was able to garner the votes, believe it or not. If the referendum was not able to get the signatures, I think I had the votes on council to, get a referendum too. I asked then Secretary of Transportation to come in to do a workshop and explain to us why we needed light rail. So instead of the normal council little workshop chambers on the side, they had a gallery full of all these pro-light rail folks. And nobody really spoke up. Believe it or not, we were not as a council allowed to speak on light rail. You go to a retreat and I asked the facilitator, is light rail on the agenda? Oh no, it's not. They assumed that they were going to have the culture of arrogance that I'm running against. And I asked Aubrey Lane, why are we going with this Betamax technology that is already obsolete and expensive to run when there is new technologies on the horizon? They'll be far less, more effective and efficient and cheaper. And he told me that type of technology is decades away. That Monday, Mercedes-Benz had the first driverless car. Okay, so take a look what is coming down the pipe that we could do. When it comes to decisions, we have to play chess, not checkers. What do I mean? We make one move at a time. We do one budget cycle at a time. We got to start thinking ahead. We got to start becoming visionaries. I want to do this thing called strategic mapping, where we put everything, every project, where we want to be 5, 10, 20 years from now on a map, so you know where we're going and how to get there.
That light rail, the only piece I've got a little interest in is that boiler building would be great if the light rail came in. More importantly, it would make me a ton of money because I'm a car accident lawyer. I finally acknowledged that it would not help traffic. It would make it worse. Anybody who's going through Independence Boulevard, let's stop it a couple of times a day, just on top of everything else.
And I would lose a good sign location.
All right, we've got another 20 minutes or so I'm going to try to go through 3 or 4 more of these, and some of these can be answered quickly, some of them probably can't. This one you may not be able to speak to. Sports arena lawsuit. Andrea Kilmore, my old high school classmate at Bayside, they have filed a lawsuit on that. I thought that had been resolved with Garcia's meeting.
No. Now, even within many of the members of this group, I took some heat for getting behind the arena project. Now, why did I get behind the arena project? And you are entitled to an answer. I was, once again, talking about civic engagement. When the 2 unsolicited proposals came in, I was the one that had the initial public hearing on it, where we put them side by side, okay? And we went with one direction. There was an overwhelming, to go with the group that didn't involve a lot of city participation. The primary folks, the 3 major entities, were Virginia Beach companies. It was a new model that had potential, where we got, no pun intended from the previous question, derailed. All of a sudden, there was millions and millions of dollars going into fixing up other parts of it. Okay. And there was a lot of enthusiasm for it at first. We had 5 civic engagement meetings. We listened to the people there, and we were trying to come up with a financial model that may have revamped the way that we do public-private partnerships. So I was encouraged by it, and felt, but as within any type of situation, if it is not destined to work, it will fail, because that's the way by letting market forces take over. I'm sorry that there is a lawsuit. And, you know, it is disturbing, but it just underscores the fact we have to find better processes on how we do these projects to illuminate and be transparent, to show everything and listen to all sides, pro and con, get people together, come to consensus.
Sometimes you need an Iran to stop at Iraq. Perhaps sometimes we need a Garcia to stop at Thompson. And I would make this comment. This man put together a deal that was tough enough that it didn't go through. Some of the deals that have gone through couldn't fail because they were so sweet that people were lining up to fund them since the city had guarantees on the project. So the fact that the financing didn't work tells me that that was a good bargain that was struck. I'm sorry it didn't work out. Okay, a couple more very substantive questions before we go to closing statements. In reference to short-term rental, and this is interesting because I suspect we differ in this group. On the one hand, there's the sovereignty of private property rights. This is my castle, this is my boat, I rent it out to whoever I want to, stay the heck off my front yard. On the other are folks who say, this is my castle, I don't want your castle, have an allowed party messing up my castle. So there are some conflicting property rights here. We'd like to hear your views on short-term rental, both how it stands now and moving forward.
If it was an easy fix, it would have been done a long time ago. This is a very complex issue. It is a very emotional issue because you're talking about people's property. And we sat through literally hours of discussions on this, trying to come up with a solution that may work. The way I kind of look at it is a little bit of a broad brush thing where we're killing a mosquito on an elephant with a sledgehammer. The biggest problem were the party homes. You know, granted, let's put it this way, in your neighborhood, when they build a house with 20 bedrooms in it, and they're holding wedding receptions on things with bands and everything, yeah, that's a problem. Where I lean to is that we are in the state, as Gary said, of property rights state. And a lot of people that are on fixed income use their homes to rent to supplement their incomes. They actually move to other places and they'll rent their homes out in Sandbridge. But let's not forget one thing. Going forward, we have to create wealth in this city if we're going to pay the bills for stormwater, public safety compression, infrastructure, school modernization, you name it. Our list of needs are astronomical. And the rental industry, we are blessed with an ocean. It is a viable industry that generates money for this city. Why are we jeopardizing that? And so trying to find a rare compromise, let me put it this way, you're not going to find short-term rentals in Lake Christopher and a lot of other neighborhoods, like where I live. But the point is we have to respect people's right to do with their property. But if we can come up with safeguards that protect the neighborhoods along the way, but once again, a lot of the things we're talking about may be unenforceable.
Economic diversification. Where are we going to do it? You're the only one here. You know,
Don't mind me, I'm popping up in there.
Exercise.
Think outside of the box. What are we going to do? What kind of businesses? Respectfully, my opponent says, okay, let's bring in the high tech. And I got criticized for saying, what about the guy that wants to open up a pizza place? Let me tell you about a guy that opened up a pizza place. Tony People-Cestro, Why Not Pizza? 20 years ago, he opened up a pizza place. Guess what? He's got, 8 now? He employs 500 people. He has mentorship programs. The gentleman that runs the Lansdowne store is a managing partner with him, and they're going to be a national franchise. And he wants to build a 3-story building right next to his place in Lansdowne. And he's getting to start, and with a medical office building and everything, the city is in the way. My process improvement task force a couple of months ago did a study of the barriers to small business startup and expansion. And guess what we found out? We were part of the problem. Starting a business is, You're not treated a lot of times with respect and dignity when dealing. A lot of people feel it's difficult, unless you're in certain circles, to do business with the city of Virginia Beach. We have to open up Virginia Beach, that everybody knows that they are welcome in Virginia Beach, and we are going to be ambassadors. We're going to be assets. We're not going to be liabilities. We're not going to be adversarial when we're, in terms of, creating this business culture. You realize, I believe, that 70% of all businesses in the United States have 30 people or less working for them. And they have we got to give them ability to start and to expand. Because if we're going to pay these bills, I don't want to raise taxes. I want to create new wealth by changing the corporate culture in the city of Virginia Beach. I'm not going to sit down anymore.
Well, actually, as we come to
Get some exercise.
as soon as you say that, as we come to a close, I've been suggested that I not ignore the 8 questions I have here for Mr. Davenport. So, for the record, Mr. Davenport, were you busy on Facebook or tweeting when the city manager made the proposal to use the TIP funds to pay for garbage trucks? It appears you were asleep at the wheel because you keep blaming Jessica. Okay. Why would you have $500 to $2,000 a plate fundraiser in Norfolk sponsored by Norfolk developers? Is this to ensure your $100,000 for TV ads so you can take credit for things that others have accomplished? That's a biased question. I'm not going to read that one.
We're trying to get Gary to open up and express himself.
It's a well-known fact that Thompson and developers have been calling the shots during Sessom's tenure. Since you have received thousands upon thousands of dollars from the very same developers, can we expect the same disregard from Virginia Beach citizens? I've already shared with you my personal experience with Mr. Davenport. He's trying to claim, Mr. Davenport, you now claim credit for the international fiber optic line that was already in process before you were in council. How do you figure? And Councilman Dyer, Ben Davenport keeps trying to paint you, this is one for you, paint you as a supporter of John Moss. Can you explain the issues where you have disagreed with Moss, and what initiatives you have been responsible for? And of course, I think you touched on one there, the sports arena. But if you have any addition to that, please.
Let me put it this way. When I won an election in 2004 that nobody gave us a chance of winning, I think I had like $22,000 raised going into the race. If you have a message, if you have experience, if you have accomplishments, you're not going to need that much money. I intend to win this race on a budget that you will be proud of. It's going to be a lean, effective budget. Our message is going to get out. And I've been in thousands of homes in Virginia Beach being a physical therapist. A lot of people know me. A lot of people know what I've done. Is everybody 100% happy with me? Of course not. Once again, that's just the nature of the beast of local politics. But the thing is, when you raise buckets of money for a job that pays $30,000 a year, it's a part-time job that really is a full-time commitment. But think about it, and think about, the past, how much money has been raised all over the place to get these type of jobs. I'm proud of my commitment, and I'm going to run a campaign that is representative of folks. With regard, if you don't mind, I'm going to go a little bit over that as we wind down here. I'm proud of the fact I'm friends with John Moss. Can you imagine I get criticized for getting along with people? And ultimately, I was going to save this for my final, but I want you to think about this, okay? November 6th is going to be very important going forward, but November 13th is going to be more important than who gets the gavel and takes over that first council meeting. We got 8 seats up for the first time in the history of Virginia Beach. Whose hands do you want on the tiller of the ship of state of the city of Virginia Beach going forward? Somebody that has a reputation of working collaboratively with other people, building those positive relationships, working with staff to get things done for the people. You know, having town hall meetings, okay, I don't have you know, let me tell you something, I don't know if you know this. When I was not a candidate, I would not have a campaign account open. I did not take money from anybody. Didn't have to, didn't want to. And I would have town hall meetings. That's where my strength was, talking with the people. So the fact is that I have a working relationship with John Moss and Jessica. I have it with everybody, because you know how you get things done as a district council person? You need 5 friends to get 6 swing lights. That's how I got Lynn Haven Parkway open. That's been a dotted line for since 1978. That's how I got a pump station for Rosemont Forest after $6.5 million after Hurricane Ernesto got flooded. You accomplish things by working collaboratively with everybody. Do I agree with everybody all the time? No. But I think John would tell you, and I think anybody would tell you, that you know exactly why I'm voting a certain way. You may not agree, but at least you get an explanation. I can't make everybody happy. As W.C. Fields said, if you try to make everybody happy, nobody's going to be happy. Just be yourself, be true to yourself, be honest, and be willing to explain yourself. But most importantly, listen and understand. Not only from my other council people, from the staff, but from the people of Virginia Beach. And there's my stop sign.
I see another candidate, David Nygaard, has joined us. I think everybody's getting 1 minute, a few minutes there, David. Well, Councilman Dyer, let me thank you personally for the service. You and I have known each other a long time, and I'm one of those people who haven't always agreed with you. But I think that's an indication of what you have to do to run a city, which is to be building some bridges. So given the alternatives. You will find outside, some of you all know that when I left the White House in 1983, I formed a PAC called Friends of the Elephant. This year, we're not involving ourselves in federal races. This year, we believe that the focus needs to be on city council. So any candidates that are on the Friends of the Elephant ballot who have not yet received a check, yeah, I see you there, Arcade. It gets one. The information on the Friends of the Elephant is on the ballot. My personal office number is on there. By the way, after 5 o'clock, that number will give you my personal cell. You have my permission to use it and give to others. But this is going to be a good turnout race, and Lord knows, I don't think we can survive 4 years of complete dominating control by these developers. We've been hanging on by a thread. There's been a handful of people who have been able to stop some of the worst projects. I don't know if y'all remember the deal where they were going to take over the hotel and then rebuild it right at the end of the interstate, and the mayor went public and blasted people because it became public 20 days before the vote? 20 days before the vote? Really? You don't get to say? So openness, transparency is what we're about. There are school board candidates on this as well. Call me with any questions you have on my ballot. And now I will let Mr. Dyer give his closing statement. Again, from me personally, thank you for the incredible amount of hours you put into this city. What a thank you.
And I just want to personally thank all of you for taking your time out on a Saturday morning, you know, to come and listen, you know, to a guy who aspires to go to the next level. I hope you realize that I am doing the right thing for the right reason. It's not about me, it's about we. It will always be about we. And as I look forward, you know, you have to understand that the job description for mayor has changed and evolved over the years. It's no longer the real ceremonial type position that it used to be. You are the leader, you are the ambassador, you are the face of the city. You got to bring people together. And, you know, we're going to have a lot of challenges with a new chemistry on council, or there's going to be some folks that may not get along. Who between us is going to be the one that's going to be able to try to get people working collaboratively together and focus on the mission of what Virginia Beach needs? Who is going to have the temperament, the experience, the emotional intelligence, the understanding of people and their families by being in their homes, who has a proven track record And yes, I'm being told I have to brag about myself a little bit, because I really, it's never